Hi, it's Penny here, and we are now into the tail end of the year. So I wanted to share with you 10 books that I'm hoping to get to by the end of the year. And I think most of these I will. Maybe the very last one is one that I'm just going to try really hard to get to, but also I have a feeling that I might end up crying that I can't do it. But anyway, firstly, we'll start with a new release or new-ish release. I think it might have been July, if I had to guess, and that is The Bright Sword by Lev Grossman. So I had mixed feelings about Lev Grossman's The Magician's trilogy, but I liked the books more and more, so that really gave me hope that this new series, I don't think it's a series, I think it's just a standalone, but it gave me hope that this new book would be something I could really like. I haven't necessarily seen great reviews about it, but still, I have hope. I would like to get to it so I could form my own opinions. This is, I believe, like a Arthur and Camelot retelling, except it's like the Knights of the Round Table that weren't the big famous ones. I think the big famous ones, you know, like Arthur and Lancelot and stuff, have all gone missing. At this point, actually, I've taken a while to get to this and I've kind of forgotten the synopsis, but I'm hoping we'll have some young dysfunctional people, the same as we do with The Magicians, with also some cool magical things tied in there. So I'm hoping to like it, and I'm actually hoping to pick that one up next week, so we'll see. Then on the other side of a book that's a new release, I also want to pick up the book that's been on my Goodreads want to read list for the longest, and that is The Sudden Appearance of Hope by Claire North. So Claire North wrote The First 15 Lives of Harry August, which is kind of a twisty time travel book, and also, what was that other book? The Pursuit of William Abbey. So she often writes these books where these people have a particular strange difficulty in their life. Harry August is always like born again whenever he dies and gets to live his life again circularly. Then William Abbey is one who can read people's minds, but also has like this ghost chasing him across the world, and whenever this ghost gets close, he can't help but just like spew out, like say everything that he's reading from other people's minds, which is really interesting. And then in The Sudden Appearance of Hope, we have this woman, I think her name is Hope, and it's kind of like Addie LaRue, where as soon as people can't see her or as soon as people leave her, they completely forget that she exists. And so unlike Addie LaRue, where it's a very emotional story about this woman trying to make her mark on the world, I think The Sudden Appearance of Hope will be much more about like the functional side of it, like how do you actually live with that. And in most of these books, these people end up kind of doing some kind of espionage, and this does seem like an ability that would like fit really well with that. So I'll be really interested to see what Claire North does with this. Then I have a few books that are from series that I want to start or that I've just started. Firstly, we have Ancillary Justice by Anne Leckie. This is a book that I tried the first chapter of and absolutely loved, and I've been wanting to pick it up for a while, and I have finally gotten to it. It's about this person that used to be a spaceship. So they're kind of like a spaceship that used to inhabit different bodies, but now for whatever reason, they only have one body, and they are, I think, on some kind of quest for vengeance. But what I really loved about the first chapter is just how much they struggle with the concept of humans and gender, and like they just don't really understand humans, even though they're in the body of one. And I really love that like outside perspective of humanity. So actually, if I could get away with it, I would like to read the whole first trilogy in that world. And probably the same for On the Edge by Ilona Andrews. This is the first book in a 4-book series. I think it's the Edged novels. This is set in a world where we have the weird, where there's all kind of crazy magic and the world is weird, I guess. And then we have the broken, which is our world where magic doesn't work. And then we also have the edge, which is like a world between those two worlds where magic kind of works, but not as strongly as the weird. And we're following kind of this family, this young girl who's looking after her younger, very young brothers, and they all have some kind of magical abilities, but they kind of travel between the edge and the broken. But also the main girl, I think, has some kind of a magical ability that means other people are kind of trying to come after her. So I've really loved some stuff by Ilona Andrews, and I'm expecting to really love this. I'm going to pick up the audiobooks, which does give me a good chance of getting through these by the end of the year, and I think they'll just be a lot of fun. So fingers crossed for that one. As well, I recently picked up the audiobook of The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. beautiful cover. And the second book, The Book That Broke the World, also has a really beautiful cover, and I'm hoping to be able to read that second book. So this is about this young girl who lives in the desert in the dust, and she dreams of going to the city where she thinks she would be able to learn all sorts of amazing things. And she does end up going to the city, maybe not in the way that she expected. We're also following this kind of group of young adults, I think, who live in this library, or more that they are trapped in this library. And so eventually we have the main girl, Lavera, exploring the library and having some kind of encounters with this other guy who's stuck in the library. Mark Lawrence often does this thing where it's very fantastical, but not in a magical kind of way. The magic is always a little bit more like technology, but just technology that the people of the world don't understand, which I really like, and I'm really liking the direction it's going with in The Book That Wouldn't Burn. So I would like to continue that series and read the second book so that when the third book comes out next year, I will be ready. Then the most obvious ones I think for me is my Cosmere reread, although we are not rereading anymore, we are just up to the books which I had never read before. So I'm hoping to read The Lost Metal before Wind and Truth comes out in December. The Lost Metal being the fourth book in Mistborn Era 2, which I think though also has a fair amount of links into what's been going on in the Stormlight archives. So Wind and Truth is being released in December, and that's Brandon Sanderson's big epic fantasy, and it's kind of the last book of this part of the Stormlight archives. So a lot of people are really hyped about it. I'm hoping to read it in December. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if I don't actually finish it until January, because even though it's coming out at the beginning of December and I'm hoping to get my hands on it straight away, I think it's just going to take me forever to get through it. But still, I should be mostly finished that by the end of the year. So that's kind of my goal. And then I'll be all caught up on the Cosmere. Won't that be amazing? I'm sure it won't last. Then as well, actually a couple more series that I'm hoping to catch up on or finish before the end of the year. Firstly, we have the latest Bobiverse book by Dennis E. Taylor. So this is Not Till We Are Lost. I don't really know what Bob's going to be doing in this, but this is a series about this man who was a very successful software developer, had his own company, makes an agreement that when he dies he's going to get frozen. However, then after he dies he wakes up and he's been placed in the brain of a spaceship. He's also able to like self-replicate, so he makes a bunch of spaceships that are all him, and they go about trying to save humanity and explore space. So it's kind of like Star Trek, except that it's from the spaceship's point of view, and there's lots of him that are kind of the same person but also a little bit different. These books are really kind of problem-solving, but I really like the audiobooks and I just find them really easy to listen to and like a really fun time. So I'm looking forward to catching up on that series. As well, I want to read The Mirrored Heaven by Rebecca Roanhorse. So this is the last book in the Between Earth and Sky trilogy. This has been out, I think, since April, but it's taken me a while to get my hands on it. And I'm a little bit worried that I have forgotten the first two books in the series to some degree. But it's like in a world that's inspired by pre-Columbian mythology. We have this woman who's kind of a little bit like a mermaid. We have another man who has kind of been forced into being a crow god. And another like priestess who can kind of foresee the future, and some other characters, and they've all kind of been coming together in this bigger conflict that escalated quite a lot in the second book from what I can remember. I will definitely be trying to find some plot summaries before I go into that third book, but I have heard really good things about the third book, so fingers crossed I'll like it too. So if I'm counting correctly, that's 9 books. The one last book that I would like to try and fit in this year, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. So Tamsin Muir, New Zealand author. I'm from New Zealand. I like to support New Zealand authors. I actually read the first few chapters of Gideon the Ninth quite a while ago because I had it on ebook, and there was a point when I only had my Kindle available to read on, and so I picked it up. I really liked it. We're following this woman named Gideon who's always been stuck on this planet, maybe. It's a little bit ambiguous about what's going on, but this woman's been stuck in the 9th house and she really wants to gain her freedom, and she ends up making a deal with kind of the head of the house that she will go to this competition type thing, or this opportunity that the head of the house has, and act as her security, and if she does that then she'll gain her freedom. From everything I've heard, that's not necessarily the direction it ends up going in, and there's a lot of weirdness about it. and I think I'm going to really love this series, but somehow it just has never worked out for me to pick it up. And I really want to do it before the end of the year, so I'm going to try really hard to squeeze it in somewhere. So let me know if you've read any of these books. Do you think I'm going to like them? Also, what books are you going to be trying to get to before the end of the year? Do subscribe if you'd like to see more of my bookish videos. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.